All right. Perfect.
Good morning.
Another good morning with coffee and closers here. We are live and ready to rock some worlds and some minds. So people need to bring their questions. Guys, what do you got going on?
Hey guys, I'm doing great today, man. Just feeling good. Good week so far. And man, we went and looked at like 4 or 5 properties yesterday. Sent offers on every one of them. Got one accepted right away, and we're working on getting the other 4 done. So just closing deals over here, guys. Closing deals.
Well, okay, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question before you jump over to Gavin, because you made a comment here about you looked at 4 or 5 properties, you made an offer on every one of them. Do you send the offers out after you look at them, or do you try to control the process and make the offer there when you're with the seller?
Good question.
So that's a great question. Both. But these particular properties that we looked at yesterday they weren't like direct to seller marketing per se. One of them was a lender of ours that's trying to sell his last rental property. And the other 3 or 4 that we looked at were basically like pocket listings and or properties from other wholesalers. So in that case, we want to go look at them first.
Right.
If it's direct to seller and there's not another party involved, we always want to get a contract signed that's contingent upon walkthrough and verifying all the information that we have gotten over the phone, essentially. So, Don, that's a great question. I prefer to have a contract on a property before I go look at it. I mean, that's just preferred.
Mm-hmm.
It just eliminates a lot of time, right?
Well, and we're doing something very similar. Go ahead.
Yeah. How many properties do you buy that are direct to seller yourself, or are you buying from another wholesaler?
So that's a great question. 80% are direct to seller, typically. Yesterday was a fluke in terms of like just random deals that had come in. But typically, we're buying about 80% direct to seller. And then the other 20% is either from the MLS or it is, from an agent or from another wholesaler or something along those lines. Ricardo!
What's going on, guys?
How we doing?
Buddy.
Good. I had to restart this thing, man. You know how that goes.
It's all good. We're happy to have you. Welcome and good morning.
No, I appreciate you guys. Honored to be hanging out with you guys,
Hey, we're happy to have you, man. We're happy to have you. I know the guys got a bunch of questions for you. I know I do too. You were listening in on us a second ago before you joined about investor lift. Let's talk about that for a minute. Secret's out, right? There's no secret anymore. So I'm just curious to hear your take on it and how long you've been using it for. And it sounds like it's bringing you tons of success because you're in the SMS game pretty heavy right now too, right?
Yeah. So we, man, I was just playing with that thing, adding all the properties that we didn't add. But that thing is a game changer, bro.
It's a really cool piece of software.
And right now they're having some difficulties with delivering emails, okay? And you didn't hear that from me, but I know because I got 40-some properties under contract and we're sending hundreds of thousands of emails. And I had to reach out to them and say, hey, guys, I'm not getting much feedback. So, but just that God mode feature they have where you can see all the buyers around a property is insane, man. And
yeah, that's a really cool feature.
Yeah. And then the cartel mode, you get to access all of the buyers from the cartel members. Are you guys on cartel or pro?
No, I'm just on the pro.
I'm on the pro. I think Costa's on cartel. He wouldn't have anything else.
I'm waiting to get set up on cartel. Yeah.
Okay. So the cartel, you have all of the buyers we got right now, like 2.3 million in there. It's a shared buyers list pretty much. Yeah. And then
these are buyers across the country, right?
All over, yeah. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter where they are. Nick Perry had to upload his list. I had to upload mine. Everybody did. That's the first thing you do is you surrender your buyers list. So Don is gonna have to do the same shit. Whether he's got a lot of buyers, most likely all his buyers are on the list already. Okay. So, it's one of those things to where, I got to surrender my shit. Nah, man, most of those guys are there already. I had, like, mine was 88,000 people I had on my buyers list that were active buyers. When I uploaded it, it only took 2,500 out of it. Because the other freaking, the other 85,000 were there already.
Yeah. But I think that the important thing is, though, as well on that mode is that you're actually then, okay, one is active buyers, but then you actually select, right, the buyers that you've actually done deals with, that you vouch for, that you kind of do that extra code to say, hey, this is a legit guy, this is a legit buyer we do business with. So you're actually getting that section as well, rather than just a buyer's list.
That's correct. And we also have a snake mode now, which is if we spot a snake, it's called blacklisted. We can mark them as blacklisted. That way they don't get your blast. So we just went to Tulum for like a week, and we did a round table on what was working, what wasn't working, that kind of deal. And man, they're coming up with a lot of new features from that meeting, and these guys implement pretty fast. So they're gonna have a new section that I came up with, because I got a lot of friends that are making, I don't know, $25,000 to $100,000 a month, so they don't qualify necessarily for cartel mode. And then they don't want to be on the pro, because pro is like, fuck, man, that I don't get the buyer. So they're gonna come up with a new version called I think it's Cartel Max. That's the name I came up with. And if you are anywhere from 50 to 100 grand, then you can get on the Cartel Max, but you have to be sponsored by a cartel boss. And the idea is that the cartel boss needs to help that guy reach $250,000 in revenue every month. And then they're going to get a modified buyers list. Like, I think it's up to 1 million buyers. And another thing we're doing now is that we are going to be texting all the buyers that we have there. That way we can get them vetted. So we're qualifying the buyers. We're running a texting campaign to 1 million buyers, basically. And they're doing it with me, because they know I'm the one that knows how to get all these text messages out. So we're doing it together, and we're texting like 1 million buyers in the next few weeks.
And we need to jump over to that, but I feel like we've come in at 100 mile an hour here. So Ricardo, who's Ricardo? Ricardo, where Dodges threw us in here at like cartel mode. Like, who's Ricardo? Where are you living? What are you doing?
Man,
who are you?
You mentioned that. Bring us back to reality.
I didn't even know we were live, bro.
Oh yeah, we've been live.
Deal.
We were live before you got on. That's how we roll.
I'm a real estate investor out of Houston, Texas. I started fixing and flipping back in 2008. Became a landlord by necessity, because I couldn't flip the houses back then. Like, nobody will get a loan, so I had to keep them as rentals. And I mean, long story short, man, I built a portfolio of rentals, and I got rid of it because I found out I didn't like being a landlord, actually. And I've had up to 100 rentals at some point. I only have like 3 now. So that tells you how much I like being a landlord. But now I'm just focusing on wholesaling, just a wholesaling operation nationwide. So
how many, you said you had 40 properties under contract right now?
We have more. We have probably 44, something like that.
And this is a nationwide, or is this local to Houston?
Nationwide, man. We left Houston a long time ago. In Houston, so in the surrounding areas, we may have 10 or something like that, but most of these properties are all over. We go, I think we're going as far right now as New Mexico, to the west, and to the east we're in like I don't even know what we got, man. I can tell you, but yeah, it's all over. Like Tennessee, we picked up something in Missouri. Yesterday, we picked up a few all over Texas. We're pretty much in, Odessa, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas. But yeah, we're everywhere now. And right in Louisiana, we're hammering Louisiana right now, big time. So, yeah, we're all over.
I have a quick question, something that you said here, and this is going to back up to our conversation last week. So I'm going to beat Dave up a little here. Obviously, you had 100 properties. Now you have 3, I think you just said. So we had this very conversation last week. I couldn't think of anything worse of having 100 properties, and Dave wants 150 properties. So, like, we're on 2 different things. But from a guy that's had 100 and now 3, like, obviously you hate being a landlord, but why? Like, what are some of them experiences of people that have that vision of Dave, that want 100 doors or 200 doors or whatever? Why didn't it work for you?
Yeah. So I'm a firm believer. If you're going to go for 100 doors, might as well go multifamily, because they're only one location, easier to manage. It's just more of a complex deal to get yourself into, right? But once you figure the deal, it's not that hard, because you can syndicate the money. The loans are fairly easy to get as long as you're getting a good deal. The problem with having 100 doors separate is that it creates a logistic nightmare. So yeah, you can have property man. Guys, let me close the door real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're good. I'm interested to hear his take on this.
Yeah, exactly. And then I want to hear yours, because I think this is important.
Absolutely. And then
it creates a logistic nightmare, man. So you can say, okay, I'm going to give them all to a property manager, right? And then what the property manager does is they still bring you the problem. They still say, hey, man, we got to fix the toilet. By the way, it's $500. Or we got to fix the plumbing, by the way. And sometimes they do. If you give them the power to go fix it, they'll fix it, and then they'll send you the bill. And they said, hey, I spent $4,500 in fixing this sewage line that was backing up. And you're like, what? $4,500? Oh my God, I could have gotten somebody to go do something cheaper, right? So you magnify that times 20, 30 calls a week. You literally have to hire somebody just to manage the property manager, unless you become a property manager yourself, which is what I did. For me at the time was easy, because I was flipping a lot of houses. So anything that broke, I could get some of my guys from my rehabs and send them there. So I didn't, it didn't bother me as much, but that forced me to keep people on the payroll all the time, employed to take care of some of these challenges that we had in rentals. Now,
it's eating cash flow, though, isn't it? Right. So all them problems is when we say it's a cash flowing property. When them things happen and they multiply, right? And I think realistically, 30 calls is realistic on 100 doors a week, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just eating cash flow.
Bro, they'll call you for a light bulb. The light bulb is not working. And you're like, Jesus, it's $250. It's up to you on the contract, Like, go change the light bulb. Oh, the switch line is clogged. Well, quit throwing diapers on it. I mean, these are real calls. Like, I still get those calls. So, now I'm not against it, by the way. Like, if it fulfills your dream of having all these doors and all that, by all means, do it, right? But you gotta have some people, managing those things, because it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of properties, especially if you got them in different areas, and I don't think it's really that scalable, man, unless you're a bank. Like, if you're owner financing them out, where now the calls go away, but then you lose all the write-offs, you lose all the appreciation, depreciation, and all that. You keep the cash flow. But a lot of those good things that real estate investors enjoy by being able to hold on to assets, they go away. So that's why I only keep a few now. It's like a necessary evil for me, and then everything else I got is owner financed out. That way I get the cash flow, but I don't have to look after toilets and ACs and things of that nature. And I still buy, man. Like, if I get a good property, to me, buying a rental property is like setting myself up for success in the future for another deal, because the property is going to go up. If I get into a cash flow crunch for some reason, like we all do, then I can deal that property out, and now I just get money in. So, I'm not opposed to owning property. I just don't want to have a lot of rentals, houses. I don't mind maybe multifamilies or storages, things of that nature for the cash flow purpose. But man, having 100 properties is really you got to set up a company just for that, just to manage that and keep people employed, and that way the headaches are not as hard.
Yeah, Dave, what do you think?
Oh, I totally agree, 100%.
So how are you getting around it? How's your vision?
I like those problems. We just have systems in place. So our property manager is in the people business, not the property business. We made that very clear to him from the get-go. And Ricardo's exactly right. You have to have somebody that's going to manage the property manager, which we do. And then you have to, in our case, we have rehabs going on, right? We have a couple crews. They're not very big crews, but a couple guys on each crew, and we got a couple of them. And when maintenance comes in, the property manager is the people. He's the people business. So he handles the people. He handles the tickets. He handles the calls. And then those come to us. And then from there, we send one of our guys out. So you have to have that to be able to do it the way we do it, right? Where we have somebody that manages him, and then we have somebody that manages the properties. So when the tickets come over, we send one of our guys. We essentially pull them off of a project, send them over to the property to do the maintenance. And then from there, what we do is we then send the invoice to him, and he pays it. That way, there's not conflicting accounting going on. All the accounting, he's collecting 100% of the money, and he's paying out 100% of the bills. So even when we get a bill mailed to us, we send it to him, and we say, hey, you need to start receiving this mail. Or, by the way, here's a bill. I'm not paying it. You need to pay that for us, right? So it's just systems. Once you get the system in place, it's not necessarily a difficult thing. Now, setting the systems up are time-consuming, and you're going to have people fall in and out of the process that you're going to have to replace. But to me, I'm in the property business. He's in the people business. So he just handles leasing and communication. Anything that has to do with the property at all, he is not ordering a contractor to go out and then mark those services up and not manage that person. It's internal. So there's a big...
Are these contractors working for you full time? Are you paying them hourly?
Some are W-2, some are 1099. But basically, yeah, they are, it might not even be like a guy that's like W-2. It could just be like a GC of mine. We have a couple like third-party GCs, right? And we'll essentially call them in on a turnover, right? The property manager may charge $3,500. My GC guy may charge me $1,500 or $1,800, right? So it's right. Whenever you're controlling those expenses, it's going to be a lot better. But again, it's just systems.
But it still isn't. But I think the thing is, though, is that it's still an expense, isn't it? Right. So you talk about 1,800. It was 35, 1,800. But if your property's only cash flowing 300-400 a month, 500 a month, I mean, you've just lost 3.5 months.
No, not at all, because we'll have a deposit for 15, 18, 2,000 $2,000, right? So if the property costs $1,800 to turn over, then the tenant gets back $200. They don't get back the difference. If it's more than that, we bill them for it. And if they don't pay it, then it goes to collections. And then it's going to get garnished. Like, this is a business. We're not doing freebies for anybody. So, yeah, I get your perspective. Like, yeah.
No, I like it. I'm just trying to pick it apart.
Oh, no, I love it. This is great. Like, we bring in 20 grand in cash flow. Well, yeah, some months you're going to have an air conditioner go out or a roof that's leaking. And you're going to essentially have to, go spend 4 or 6 grand of that, right?
Yeah.
But really, though, you're not really getting 20 grand in cash flow. You're getting 20 grand deposited in your account. If you run off of your spreadsheets and you factor in vacancies and you factor in maintenance. So I think there's a misconception between people collecting a lot of money and then having to spend some of it and thinking, oh, this is eating up my cash flow. No, that's not the way it works. Cash flow is after all expenses.
Yeah. So what are you allowing? What's the calculation?
It's reducing the amount of cash flow that you're receiving until that goes negative, which can happen if you have 1 or 5 or even 10 properties. But when you have, I got 51 of them right now. I had 87 last year. So didn't have 100 like Ricardo, but I'm going to be there soon, buddy. I'm coming.
Trust me, I'm not even proud of that number. Like, only reason I did it at the time, I was trying to compete with another guy to see who had more. That was it, bro. It was an
Isn't that funny how this works in this business like that? But the point that I'm trying to make though is the more you have, the easier it becomes. But don't look at it like it's eating into your cash flow, because it's not true cash flow. That's revenue.
So what happened to me, right? I'll tell you what happened to me and why I started getting rid of them. A lot of those properties that I had at the time, so we got to about 47 sometime in 2011 or 12, okay? And a lot of them were in C-class areas. So we started having a lot of problems with people not paying. So they, we have mortgages on them, and they started becoming just like, I wasn't really making any cash flow, because the ones that were paying for the ones that were not. So I was kind of like breaking even, but these properties were appreciating. So I saw it as a good way to exit all of those C-type properties, right? Then we got to B-type properties. I was thinking maybe the tenants are gonna be better. Wrong. Same thing happened. We started having people that started defaulting and this and that. But the truth is, I didn't mind that, because you write that off, and you're still controlling the asset. The asset is appreciating within, throughout the years. And because we had a heavy flipping business, especially at the peak sometime in 2016, 17, we had the people to manage all those things. And it didn't bother us at all. Like, we wanted to get more, actually, because we had almost 50 people on our rehabbing crew. I mean, we were flipping 47 houses at the same time, right? And what happened was, after Harvey, I lost all my workers. And when I lost all my workers, I didn't have these people to go handle the rehabs or the rentals. And I started getting rid of properties right away, because they started becoming a problem for us. Plus, we had to get rid of a lot of those properties in order to pay some of our lenders. And, it served the purpose. But now that I do wholesaling, and I understand wholesaling much better than I did a few years ago, I want to focus on $10,000 to $15,000 assignments, not on $400 cash flow.
Yeah, I'm with you. So, hey, speaking of that, let's learn a little bit about your business, Ricardo, because we went down a rabbit hole here on the landlording thing, which is great. Obviously, great conversation.
Hey, by the way, everybody should have a property, man. Look, all you got to do is buy 5 and you retire with $1 million. Only 5.
We're not, and that's the cool thing, because we're not disagreeing. It's just our conversation last week. Yeah. It tied in. And Don, Don, you were going to say something.
I was going to say something earlier, but it was just, I just wanted to point out, it's like nobody's wrong.
Right. Absolutely.
And like Dave is very passionate about it. He's learned the systems around it. He's made it a business. Ricardo didn't love it enough to build the systems around it. And he's got other priorities and other things on his mind. Gavin, you and I are kind of the same way. I would rather go multifamily and have, 100 doors, through one apartment complex or a couple apartment complexes, because that's just where my comfort zone is. And I don't want to build the systems around owning 100 or 200 single family properties. But depending on the path you want to take, if you want to master it, just like wholesaling or anything else we do in this business, if you want to master it, understand it inside and out, backwards and forwards, you can excel in it and love it and enjoy it. And that's fine, right? And so it's cool to have these conversations and see how we're kind of polarized in different directions. But I love Dave's passion around what his goal, what he's doing, and I love the fact, like, he's people, the managers in the people business, like, he's identified what works, and that's super, super cool. I want to point that out, because regardless of whatever path you take when you're listening to this in your business, whether it's wholesale or fix and flip or buy and hold or creative finance or whatever, you got to understand it. You got to love it. Be passionate about it. Don't go down a road just because somebody said they're going down that road. Like Ricardo said, he's trying to keep up with somebody, and then build systems around it so that you don't want to drink bleach every day, that you actually enjoy what you're doing. And that's an important takeaway.
That's 100% right there, Don. Like, and the truth is, when this other guy, and he's still my friend, and he got a lot of properties, but this other guy, he was in the business of selling loans. So for him, having a bunch of guys becoming landlords with hundreds of properties was a very good thing, right? So my problem is I bought into his dream.
You were racing his dream, not yours.
I mean, he lured me into becoming a landlord, like having $50,000-$60,000 in cash flow, passive income, and all of these, and depreciation. And he's a great sales guy. And the other thing is, there was a little bit of competition because we were marketing in the same areas. And I would show up at a house. By the time I was buying all the acquisitions, I did it myself. I was showing up at a house, and he would show up. He had a lot more money than I did. And every single time we started a bidding war, as soon as I went through my threshold, I was like, man, I can't pay more than what it is right now. I just ran up the bill for him for like $10,000 more. And I just turned around and laughed because he did have bigger pockets. And I saw him one day and said, hey, Blake, you know all those properties you won against me, right? And he's like, man, if you did the math, I made you pay at least over $200,000 more than you were supposed to, just because your ego got on the way. But I was buying into his dream, right? And to me, that was a mistake. I was younger. I didn't really know what being a landlord was. And I just went for it and did it. But now I'm like, it was a great experience, don't get me wrong. But that's not really what I want my future to be like.
Yeah. No, that's really, really good.
Ricardo, tell us about your business. I want to learn more about these 10 to 15K assignments. That sounds like that's the new goal for you at this point. It's not 100 houses or 2 million properties or any of that. It's wholesaling. I want to learn about your team. I want to learn about your marketing methods, and I want to learn about just the basic general operation that you got going on over there.
Right.
Can I ask one thing really quick? We do need to transition into that. So guys, if you're listening and watching, if you're on the platform of Facebook or YouTube, can you give us a like, drop your comments in, and share the post? We want to get on as many eyes as we can. What we're about to transition into, Ricardo is the man in terms of marketing when it comes to text messaging. So just go ahead, like and subscribe to the channel, but share the post. Let's get as many views as we can on this. That would be awesome. So we appreciate you doing that. Sorry, Dave.
Ask your questions too. Ask questions if you have them.
Yes.
We'll answer them. Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to add one thing. Don, you are so wise.
Yeah.
Oh, Dave, that's because I listened to you, brother.
Yeah. It's me and Dave are basically like two kids
right now. You guys are all so wise, but yeah, that's great. All right, Ricardo, you got the floor, man. Tell us what's up.
So we have I was just doing the math yesterday. So let me tell you how I got into wholesaling. When Harvey hit, I had to come up with $200,000 a month on revenue to pay bills. Okay. I was under the water with big liabilities because of all the flips that we had. I had to come up with $200K a month to pay bills, not to get rich. So the only thing I could think of that could provide that much cash was wholesaling. So we had a little bit of money, and we had a lot of properties with equity, like we were talking about rentals and things like that. So we started liquidating all of that, but we couldn't wholesale fast enough to get to those 200 grand that we needed, right? So in a period of like 18 months, we were just building a wholesaling operation with mailers. Oh, that's all I did, mailers, specifically yellow letters. And we were having good months, 150, 200, but our cost per lead was very high. It was $6,000, $5,000, $4,000. And, you know, we had to spend literally $50,000 to $75,000 to bring those 150 to 200. So, you know, long story short, my business partner at the time didn't want to do it anymore. He didn't like it. He wasn't enjoying it. He wanted to do something else. So he basically resigned and went and did something else. He's still my brother. I love him. And
all those deals at that point in time, were all those deals that you guys were marketing to?
Yeah, local.
Only that point in time was local.
Yeah, only Houston. That was only Houston. So Harvey brought every wholesaler in the country to Houston, and people were making all kinds of crazy offers. And sometimes we were like, God, how are they buying this thing for this much? So I went back to my office one day and I told Dennis, I said, like, look, man, all eyes are on Houston right now. We got hedge funds coming in, wholesalers, flippers. I mean, there's blood on the streets. People want to capitalize on it. Guess what they're doing? They're leaving their turfs open. So we need to go there and market in their areas. So we started marketing in Tampa, Florida. We started going to Oklahoma. We started going to all kinds of other areas. And that's how we got into the whole virtual wholesaling thing. But it was kind of like half-ass wholesale, virtual, because I would send letters on Thursday and I would catch an airplane on Monday morning to go on appointments. So, because it will take 2 to 3 days for the letters to be delivered and for the phone call.
This wasn't really a virtual thing.
It wasn't, but it was half.
On an airplane after I do marketing and just go.
Yeah, so we were picking up. So it was kind of like half and half, right? Because we were doing all this marketing ahead of time, but then I'll go there, I'll lock them all up, put them on their contract, put them at title, come back to Houston and sell them that way, and organize sellers to go through, buyers to go through the properties and all that. So, but it was a hustle, and we were just trying to, we were in reactive mode. And Dennis got tired of that. And he's like, man, the hell with this shit. I don't want to do this no more. And I just kept on trucking, right? And trying to reinvent the wheel. Like, what can I do better?
Just real quick on that, on the marketing piece, right? From what I know of you on a personal level, you don't play at marketing, right? What I mean by that is, how much marketing are you sending? We're not talking about, 200 letters a week here, right? If you're doing direct mail, I mean, what are we talking? What are we spending? How much are we sending?
The highest we did was 80,000 letters in a month for a few months. So we were putting 50 to 75,000. We own our own mailing company, so we were fully integrated. I'm a firm believer that I need to own all my systems, and if I want to control the speed of the deal, okay, that's just the only reason. I used to use yellow letters out of California, and the challenge I had is that because I was putting such large orders, it will take my phone to ring for 3 weeks. And that's what made me go buy all the equipment. I said, you know what? I just put 20, 30 grand on equipment. I'll buy printers, letter inserters, the stamp posting thing. I get the software. I'll figure out how to make a yellow letter. And it took me a while to do that, but we did it. And then my friends started buying product from us at the time. But long story short, we could produce a letter and a phone call. It was 3 or 4 days later. So we were controlling that process. But even by us controlling the process and the cost per acquisition was still high. Because, the one company making big dollars on mailers is the United States Postal Service. I mean, it's 50-some cents a postage, right? So, man, I was trying to figure out how to drop this cost down. And, I was still having 20, 30 properties under contract on my own, but it was costing me too much money to do that. And at some point I said, man, the liability is too high. I don't know how long I can sustain this. If I don't have a few closings next month, I don't even know if I'm going to have the money to continue to do the following month. And that's how we transitioned into cold calling. Now, cold calling dropped the price per acquisition drastically, but I wanted to scale it. Everything I do, I really wanted to scale. I don't want to do it half-assed. I'm not satisfied with just a couple of properties under contract. It makes me scared. Like I'm trying to run away from being poor as far as I can, right? So, I want to do it big. And when I started doing the math for cold calling, I realized I needed a dialer per person. Then I needed a person to do the dialing. And let's just throw a quick math. A dialer is $100 to $120. If you really want to have a floor with 20 people, now you're looking at $2,000 to $2,500 in dialers. And then let's say you're paying $4 an hour in the Philippines or Nicaragua or whatever. So that's 4 times 20. Now you're paying $80 an hour times 40 hours a week. That's $3,200 a week on people dialing, right? So now your overhead goes to almost $20,000 for dialing, and you have not bought the data yet. You got to feed a lot of data to 20 people, right? So you're looking at, I don't know, 500,000 records or something like that for all these 20 people to dial. That's a lot of money. So we did the dialing thing. We had like 5 or 6 cold callers. We were getting properties, but I wasn't satisfied. So I hired a friend of mine to build me a texting platform. And I said, look, man, I think the way I can scale this thing is by texting. Because the other thing that I realized is when you cold call, your rejections are on the phone, and you're hearing that over and over again, and you can get tired of it, and you need a break.
Really quick.
Right. But when you text, if somebody's rejecting you, you just don't respond to that text. You go to the next one.
Yeah, it's faster.
It's faster. And texting is the #1 way of communicating for human beings today in the planet.
Isn't that wild?
It's crazy. So, like, if I'm going to call Dawn, and I've done this. Hey, Dawn, are you available? No, I'm having dinner with my kids right now, or my wife. I'll call you later. All right. But you text before you call. So I figured that if I can get my hands on a platform where I could use for texting, I was going to have a lot more success. And man, I was not wrong.
Let's talk about it, Len. So let's break that down, though, because the crazy thing is the way I run the business is I kind of run everything lean, right? I look at everything profit, right? It's not volume. It's not how do I send out 80,000 mailers, like all of that. I'm about profit. How much can I make? How much can I keep? Yeah. Right. That's how I run the business.
Quality is what you focus on.
Okay. And then, but when I talk to you and you're like, oh yeah, I'm sending 30, 40,000 texts a day. And it literally blows my mind. Right. Because I'm like, you've still got to be pumping a lot of money into data and a lot of money into skip tracing, right? To do that. So I want you to talk about that. And then I want you to talk about is where we're headed in the texting market. I mean, it's the topic of the real estate game right now.
Look, texting will die. There's no doubts about that, okay? Texting has got cancer right now. We just don't know how long the cancer, we don't know if it's terminal in 1 month or terminal in a year, but that cancer is there. Like, it's already being spotted by the doctors, okay? So, in the reality is I'm transitioning to PPC, okay? And PPC is, you have to be a player to play in the PPC world. There's no other way around.
What spend? What spend are we? Well, let's talk texting real quick. What spend are we doing for texting?
So my cost per contract is $500 right now. Okay. That includes the skip tracing. So it's very cheap. So what happens is you recycle data as well. So every month, as I collect assignments, I buy data. Okay, I download it from PropStream. I don't have any secret site where I go and pull this data from. I just go on PropStream. I download 25 to 50,000 records per month, and then that's what I buy on skip tracing. But right now, this month, I'm buying data for like February next year, because I already bought all the data until December and January. So whatever I'm buying this month is coming for the following year, okay? That's a great picture, by the way.
Isn't that a great picture?
Yeah, we had a great time that day, man. And yeah, we got to see some crazy people dancing on that club upstairs. That was great.
That was a great time.
So my cost per contract is $500. I allocate 30% of my assignment to data, okay, and marketing, basically. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to put an ad spend right now on what I spend every month, because I'm buying data today that I'm going to use in February, March next year.
Okay.
So I'm setting my marketing campaign so far ahead to where I know I have a healthy business moving forward. And I'm being proactive about it, okay? Now, if I can text the data at that time because the texting is dead, then I'm going to have to cold call that data. Okay.
Right.
And you can still cold call. I mean, cold call will not go away. And trust me, even if you just got to pick up your phone and dial number by number, you're good. And all you got to do is find some cheap labor that you can do that with. But the truth is, PPC is the way to go, because it's harder for people to play on the PPC world. Number one, you have to learn how to do that thing right. That's the key. Mm-hmm. Learning how to do the PPC correct. You have to learn how to manage it correctly. Then you have to learn how much money you can put on it, and then you have to have the ability to convert.
Yeah. And do you believe, though, with PPC that you have to go nationwide or multiple states to keep the cost down.
You do to keep the cost down.
Yeah,
because
you'll get eaten alive otherwise if you go local.
I did this in the past, and like everything, I'm gonna figure this shit out on my own or whatever, right? And I hired a guy, and the guy went and did the PPC campaign, man. He spent $10,000 so fast that I almost had a heart attack, dude. I was like, oh my God, dude, what do you do? Stop. And he's like, what? What are you talking about, man? Dude, it took 3 days and you spent 10 grand. I can't go a month of this. You're going to break me. So, not knowing what I was doing, I highly suggest if anybody wants to learn, they got to go to Nick Perry or Cody, Geary. Those are the guys that I think are the best when it comes to these kind of things. And even Sean Terry. But, in the PPC game, it's so expensive for the cost of entry that it weeds all the bullshit out. So the guys that are doing PPC, those are the guys that are very serious in this game. And actually, in Investor Lift, most of the cartel members are doing PPC. I'm probably the only one that's not doing PPC right now. So, and maybe Don, because he's coming up now. And so, but it just takes, it's more expensive. So, it leaves the other guys.
The thing is, though, from a marketing standpoint, and we can talk about this in text messaging as well, is that we're only talking about a lead gen, right? But then you have to have a process to what you're doing. Like you have, for right now, you're doing texting. You've got to, well, what does it look like? How many people are texting? Who's on acquisition? Who's closing these things, right?
Perfect. So, great question. So, my lead generation is all done in Venezuela now. That's where I have my texting center. Okay, they all work from home. I have like 12 people working on my team. They don't all text. Okay, I only have like 4 or 5 texting. We text for buyers just like we text for sellers. So 2 of those guys are texting for sellers. 2 of those guys are texting for buyers. As a matter of fact, as of 2 days ago, I stopped from texting for sellers because we have so many contracts that I need to kind of like go full blown ahead on texting for buyers right now. So my team is texting for buyer. So I have 4 guys or 4 girls. They're all girls texting for buyers at the moment. And then the rest of the team there, they do like IT stuff. They set up all of our systems. They handle our integrations. Slack, Zapier, our CRM, Investor Lift, anything that's software related is handled by a couple of people there. And then I have a couple of other girls that are doing all my social media. So I'm investing a lot of money onto that right now. They're pumping all the content. They're pumping all the videos, chopping off all my videos that are out there, putting them on Instagram, 9 yards. So in Venezuela, I think I got 12 people now, 10 to 12. I know we just had 2 more that started. I was doing acquisitions in these positions here in Houston, but something that I just learned is that I don't want to have both in the same spot. So Houston now is just a hub for dispos. So my office here now, we just sell houses here in Houston. We don't do any acquisitions whatsoever. And we're opening a new office in Miami, Florida this week where we have 4 acquisitions guys. These are closers. So our texters are trained to do kind of like junior acquisitions. So they pre-qualify the sellers. And when they send a lead to one of our closers, it's just a matter of how much you want and, getting on board on the process of putting it on the contract. So
how many text messages on average before it goes over to get a phone call?
Man, it's probably about 10, maybe 10 to 20. Yeah, it's like 10 to 20. And I can tell you right now, I can just open my platform.
I just wondered. I just think I'm only asking these questions because 1, I want to know, and 2, I think people are going to be thinking the same things maybe.
For buyers, is about 5 or 6. Hey, are you a buyer? Yes. Are you buying in the area? Boom, boom, boom. They send the email, bam, done, right? But for sellers, you have to create that trust, that rapport. So there's a little bit more conversation going by text message. And so the texter preps the seller for a phone call. The job of texting is to get you to a phone call, period.
Yeah.
So,
period.
And don't trust me, we got
all marketing, really, in my opinion, all of it is to get to the phone call. Even if they fill out a form on your website.
Hey, bro, look, we got houses under contract only by text. And that was a mistake. But it was a mistake because it was somebody trolling us. Like, you know.
Yeah, you show up to a property with the buyer and the property doesn't even exist. Right?
No, we've closed one via text, and it was one of our highest assignment fees in the Bay Area yet. And we went through the entire process and didn't even talk to the seller till the day before closing. So it can be done.
It can be done. Absolutely.
I highly suggest you get on the phone because what happened to us was, and this is happening in multiple occasions now. We went to properties, knocked on the door. The old lady comes out, and I was like, "Look, Miss So and So, we're buying your property." She's like, "What?"
Right.
Oh my God, I'm not selling my house. And I was like, what? Oh, man.
Before too.
And we had earnest money, and and so long story short.
Well, let me just interject here. I actually was doing a training where I called a hot lead from a cold call and essentially got trolled. I just dropped the episode. It should be out on the Flip Talk podcast here this week or next week. I got conned by a guy who answered the phone from a cold caller and answered the phone and said, "Yeah, I'm so and so," and confirmed the property address. I called the guy back and closed him, and it turned out that he didn't even know the property. So for those of you who want to hear that recording of me, who's been doing this for 19 years,
is that the one that you nailed last week? That you were like, "Man, don't oversell yourself. Just take the close when it happens." That's hilarious.
100%. So
that's fantastic.
It's fantastic, and so we're going to be open about that. So it can go all the way across the board. I always struggle with that, Ricardo, about forcing them to get on the phone because it's that tough. Talk to the seller where they want to be talked to.
No, I agree.
I agree. It's that balance. It's like you don't want to get conned, right? But you want to talk to the seller where they want to be talked to.
I just want to make sure we really have a seller. That's it. Like, hey, I need to hear your voice. Are you really the owner? Done. Okay, perfect. We're looking forward to close with you in the next couple of weeks. But because it could be a waste of time, man. And I, like in my case, that was like a $25,000 assignment. We were excited about it. It was a good looking house. The buyer was excited about it. And man, returning earnest money on something like that, it kind of sucks. So and we were being played around with. So it was a lessons learned for us. It's like, look, guys, now we just got to get on the phone with the seller at least once to understand. But going back to the operation, right? So we have a group of like 12 people in Venezuela. They work in our operation in many different areas. 4 of them are lead generating. Then in Houston right now, it's Caesar, Caxi, Sangster, Vince, and Shane, and I'm missing one. Vince, Caesar, it's like 6 of us here in Houston. We're just selling houses. That's it. And in Miami, we're having 4 people that are closers.
Why Miami? Just curious. Why Miami?
Bilingual. They're bilingual.
Okay.
Bilingual, and my brother lives there, and he's getting in the business himself, so he can run part of the acquisitions. And then we have a girl in Israel who's a closer also, and she's strictly commissions. And we just hired another girl in Italy that is just follow-up specialist. So she's on salary pretty much. All her job is just to follow up and pound follow-ups and leads and things of that nature. So we have a hybrid.
Let me jump in and ask you why you feel like your acquisitions and dispositions can't be in the same spot. I just want to understand that. You said that, and we didn't ask about that, but why do you feel like they can't be in the same office?
Yeah, so they start learning all aspects of the business. And eventually, they pick up on all the acquisitions tricks and all the dispositions tricks. And they end up leaving. So if I can keep them blind, and it kind of sucks that I'm saying this, but I'm at the point to where I'm running a corporation now. So I need to keep these horses blind to where they're just pointing towards one lane only. And they're getting so good at that lane that they're pumping out, they're being more productive. They're not getting distracted with another portion of the business. Yeah. We're doing it that way. And it's working for a couple other guys that I know that are making quite a little bit of money. So I just decided to adopt that model and try it. And so I haven't proved it, but I will try it. And I think we'll be more productive when we focus on one lane only in each location. So my lead generation it never stops. That thing is just pumping leads all the time, because that's their only focus. So we also have 45 properties under contract right now, and our goal is to get to 100 by the end of the year per month. So if I'm going to have that many, I gotta have dedicated teams for different tasks.
I can understand the dedicated teams. I don't mean to cut you off. I can understand that aspect of it. I think so I've operated in a bit of scarcity in my operation, keeping things separate and keeping lanes separate for a number of years. And that's kind of blown up on me as well. So as trying to keep them separate. Huh?
How did it blow up?
I think it's one of those things. This is a balance, right? This is a great conversation on the duality of how we think about things. But it's one of those things where it's like I've kind of adopted at this point in time, if I can help somebody succeed, move on in their own business, I'm okay with that.
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too.
But trying to keep them separate, not understanding all aspects of the business, it's like you create this culture of I don't know. It's like this animosity, and they don't understand what everybody else is doing. They think they're the ones carrying the entire load. It's a whole. It's like you can't win either way. Like there's no what you're doing right now. I've done for a number of years, and it's not wrong. And what I'm going to try to do here, where it's like if I can develop you to either stay loyal to me or go off on your own, that's fine. You're going to learn all aspects of the business. That may blow up in my face too. So I don't think there's a right way or wrong way about it. I think it's just finding what works best for you and your business. But it's one of those things, is like trying to find that balance of how do you keep somebody dedicated and loyal to your operation.
That's where we are today, right? That's where we are today. And and don't get me wrong, I have loyal people. I got people that have been with me for 5 years.
And I know you have, and I'm not saying you operate in scarcity, because you have trained people up and allowed them to go off on their own. So I'm not saying that I know you well enough to know, and I don't. If anybody listening to this, I'm not accusing him of having scarcity mindset, because Ricardo has the thing from scarcity mindset.
Yeah,
the last
that's the last thing he has.
And actually, we had a few team members that were here, and they're actually doing much better on their own now. Than they were with us, but they're wholesaling now. They're throwing their own money on marketing. They're taking their own risk, and they're still JVing with us, which is the beautiful thing. So, we don't let, like, when somebody lives here, it's very hard for them to burn a bridge unless they steal data or something from us, like a contract or something like that. Other than that, we always leave the doors open, right? But what I think is happening to us right now, Don, is that this is the first time we gotten that many properties under contract. By the way, we have almost $700,000 or $800,000 to collect, and we're not closing fast enough. And I had two people that were doing acquisitions here locally that I could have had selling these contracts as opposed to getting more contracts. So my local team here in Houston, I want them to be able to sell contracts faster. And that will be the only main goal. And they'll make a lot more money too, because they get paid on commissions. And, we have 45 properties under contract. And let's say our average assignment is, let's say 10,000. Okay. Just to throw a number, that's $450,000.
How many of those will close on average?
We close from 90% of the deals. 90% of the deals close.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't lock up. Really? We don't lock up stuff above like market. Like, we don't just lock up anything. We got to make sure it's a deal.
How many states would you say? So you said nationwide, but then you said as far west as like New Mexico. What do you think you're about 30, 35 states?
No, like because the way we market, so texting is different, right? Like right now we're heavy in Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana, and Tennessee. Those are the four that were heavy, but we're starting to get heavy in Missouri, Oklahoma, and other. So it's kind of like seasonal, because the way we text is like this month we're texting in, I don't even know where we're texting. I think it's Tennessee and Missouri. But that only is going to happen this month. So whatever we pick up this month, we have to go sell. Next month we'll be somewhere else. So we're
you're choosing your areas via buying the data in those particular areas. You had just mentioned.
Oh
that
yeah. I do.
I was getting the impression that you're doing AdWords as well, and you said that you're not.
It's not right now, but we're getting set up.
Right.
Yeah, we will
move into that. Yeah.
2 weeks.
I have a quick question though as well. Like with the contract, I think for people listening, is that I always look at a balanced business. Okay, like when we're talking about 40,000 text messages a day, right? And we're talking about 12 people being on texting or whatever you just said. It's important that you then need to have the right amount of people being on the phones to warrant that, right? So you have to have a balanced business. What I look at is that I call it the hopper. I think a lot of people, when they do a check and make money, they just tip more money into marketing. But that doesn't always make sense if you've not loaded the back end to be able to handle it, right?
No.
So I think anyone listening to this needs to understand that you have a system where you have 4 or 5 on dispo, you have 4 or 5 on acquisition, which allows you to spend the money on marketing to deliver that whole process.
The truth is, right now, I got more leads that I can handle. I got leads sitting on my CRM right now that haven't been called.
I'll close
because I don't have the. Send it to you.
Get down on the phone.
Start making calls, guys. We got a couple of good closers here.
So that's where we got a couple of girls overseas now, right?
So therefore, the way I think, Ricardo, this is just me, which means then that you could be more profitable. So you should be holding back marketing more to get that ratio better. So
no, we do it. It's like an accordion, man. It's like right now we like I said, we stopped marketing. I hired 2 new people that are getting on the follow-ups. They're getting on closings. We got 4 new guys coming in Miami. So right now I'm not marketing for new leads. I don't have to. All I gotta do is sell contracts. Once these guys are up to par, then we'll turn it on again. I lost like 4 guys in the last 30 days as well. So they went and did their own thing. They're now wholesaling on their own. One of them thought I was gonna pay him a salary so he could come here and learn. So those kind of things, those guys transitioned out. And now I found myself in a spot where I said, you know what? My dispo guys, this is just going to be an operation in Houston now. Acquisitions is going to Florida, and that's how I'm going to keep it. Because I realized that my lead generation hub is working perfect. That thing is not failing at all. That's their main. So I said, okay, if that's working perfect, because that's the only thing they do, then this is what I need to do. Is I need to break my business down in 3 parts, to where one is dispos, one is acquisitions, the other one is lead generation, and everything kind of like works. That's what happens when you grow bigger, right? If you're doing 1 or 2 deals a month, then you don't need any of that stuff. You can probably just do that on your own. But now that we're getting to more volume, then we have to break it down.
Yeah.
I love it.
Dave, so we hit some questions. I know there's quite a few questions.
Let's open it up for a little Q&A, guys. There's been a couple questions that I want to get through here, and then if anybody has anything else that they want to ask in the meantime, now's the time. All right, so let's see here. We had Chris that had asked about international team. Where are you finding your team, Ricardo? You have a team, it sounds like, in multiple different places.
Yeah, you said Italy and
Venezuela, maybe. You got
Venezuela, so I grew up in Venezuela, right? I grew up in Venezuela, so for me it's easy to find people there that are they got good English. Chris Arnold, shout out to Chris, man. So I find my team members in Venezuela. I have 2 leaders, Carla and Carlos, and they're the ones in charge of finding the talent, and they handle them. They negotiate rates, the whole 9 yards. So they're the leaders of my team there. They've been with me for quite a few years now.
So your team's helping you find team members, it sounds like.
Absolutely, man. And they get paid for it too. So I incentivize them to go find good people. So if they find good people, then they get a cut, on bonuses and things of that nature. So and then social media, people write me all the time on social media, like I'm very active on Instagram and Facebook now, and they send me messages like, hey, I want to learn from you, or how can I work with you, or is there anything that I can do for you? And there was this one girl, man, she's a closer, she's in Israel. Her name is Adith. She's one of our acquisitions girls now. And She hunted me down. Literally, like she found my email, sent me an email. She found my phone number, sent me a text message. I was like, oh yeah, this girl is hot.
This is what
like,
I want somebody to
this
be
is
doing
what I
in
want on
business
an
for me.
acquisitions team. And we had a Zoom call, and she's like, Ricardo, I want to be on your team. I don't care what it takes. And I said, you're hired. Like there was, I didn't have any questions for her. You know, she closed me basically, and now she's going through a training to get onboarded on the team. But she's a closer. She closed me, and definitely social media, man. You got to put yourself out there. If you're not putting yourself out there, you're missing out.
I love it. All right, next question. Bernard says, how do you plan out your data purchases? What type of data are you buying, and how much are you going through in a month? You had already said PropStream earlier. Are you buying data from anywhere else?
No, PropStream only. I got the highest tier. Basically, I can download a lot of data, and sometimes I don't even use it. Sometimes I don't even use it all, man.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like sometimes I forget. I don't do it because we got so much data ahead of time. I skip tracing with my own company, REI Stacked. To me, I think is the number one type tier data that I can get my hands on. And man, we got our data is pretty freaking good. So we buy an average. The minimum will be 10,000 records. That's the bare minimum. We've bought all the way to 100,000 in 1 month. We probably have now 1 million to 1.5 million records. And the beautiful thing about data is you can market to it multiple times.
That's
so
right.
You pay for it up front. Is the hardest part is paying for it up front. And then you get to reuse it in 6 months or a year when you hit that list again. So a lot of the markets that we're hitting right now is data that we're retargeting. So I'm very specific with what I buy and how I buy it. And then every month when I buy something new, I don't buy the same data in like, let's say I do high equity, guys. I'm a 70% high equity type guy. I want to go for the stuff that's got a lot of meat on the bone. Houses built prior to 1979, 3.2s. I do the 2.1s as well. 10 to 20 year ownership. And I don't care if they're owner occupied, because those owners are looking to move as well. And they're already tired of the property. They own it for that long. They don't want to put money into it. So my way of buying data is probably more expensive than the normal because I'm not hitting motivation. I'm hitting a type of property, but under that type of property, I get to cover more radius, but all the motivations fall under it. So whoever is on some sort of motivational list, like tax delinquent or bankruptcy or divorce, they're gonna show up on my bulk of data that I get. So if I buy, I pay 10%. Chris, shout out to Chris Root, man. That's my man. So
Chris is the man.
Yeah. He's a mobile home freaking mogul. But yeah, we do 10% on commissions, but going back to the data, and so if I buy something in Houston, for instance, and I don't target the large metro areas, by the way. I'm going cities 45 minutes to an hour away from the city. I call it big dot, little dot. Big dot is like Houston, little dot is like Beaumont, Texas. That's where I go.
What's the purpose of that? Why would you not focus on Houston but Beaumont?
Less competition.
Spoken like a true cartel boss. He said when they come to Houston, his exact phrase was, their turf is open.
They've left the turf.
That's right. They left their turf. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every
hit them where it hurts.
Look, most of the newbies are taught to buy properties in the large metro areas, right?
One of the things we learned from marketing, as well, just to back up what Ricardo's saying here, is when we look at our data, when we're mailing to like Fresno and Fresno City and Fresno County, we seem to have more consistency in the outlier markets, in the smaller markets around the larger metropolitan. It's where we'll get the hits every once in a while in the bigger city, but it's the outlier markets that we have. For instance, Fresno has like Fowler and Parlier and some of those other, anyway, some of those other areas will have more consistent purchases for whatever reason. I don't think it's just competition. I think it just may be, maybe a less sophisticated seller as well.
And that's part of it. But the sellers will get more sophisticated as competition arise, because the competition will educate the sellers on the sales, on the process of the sale of the property. I remember I sent you a property in Modesto, California, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing in Modesto, dude?" And I was like, "What do you mean, bro? Like, I'm a wholesaler, Right. So yeah, Modesto, it fits that criteria, even though it's a big city. It's not San Francisco or LA. I want cities that have 100,000 people or anywhere in between 100,000 to 300,000 is a very good sweet spot. But don't underestimate the cities or the little towns that got 5,000 and 20,000 people that are around those $100,000 people, 100,000 people cities. I can tell you, I probably made more than $1 million in just a little town that's got 4,000 people. And if you drive through that town, it looks like it's dead. Like I don't know, they're filming The Walking Dead or something like that in it. But people live there, and investors go there and flip houses, and they hold rentals. So I stayed away from places like that for years, until one day I was just desperate trying to buy houses, to make money and hold rentals and things like that. And I started hitting up those little towns, and man, they turned out to be gold mines. I'm willing to do what nobody else is willing to do so I can go get what I want. That's another thing. Not everybody's willing to go to those little towns. 2 hour. You go to a RIA meeting, and let's say you're speaking there, Don, and you go and you say, all right, raise your hand if you're willing to drive 2 hours for $50,000. Everybody goes like this, raise their hands. And then you show them and you said, all right, these are all the properties I got under contract 2 hours away from here. Who's willing to go flip them? And watch those hands drop. They drop so far, like 2 hours away, that's too far. Nah, how can I manage contractors over there? I don't want to drive that long. I want them nearby my neighborhood. But me, that's how I got my first 200-300 properties. Literally, it was just going somewhere else, and I was the only guy. Like when I showed up, I would ask him, it's like, look, are you talking to someone else, or are there any offers in the area? Nah, you're the only one. God must send you my way. Because I've been thinking about, look, I don't know how many times I've been told that you must have been sent by God. I said, yes, I was. So
I love it. I love it.
Just on that commission that Rude asked, what about so 10% acquisition, 10% disposition, 100% commission?
Yes, and then we do 10% for transactional bonus. So I allocate 30% of my assignment to commissions. The 10% on the transaction is for, let's say, I don't know, one of my guys, he tried hard last month, but he couldn't sell anything or get anything, right? But I saw that he made the phone calls, he was sending the emails, he was hustling. I'm going to reward that guy. Right. I'm going to reward based on effort. So I get out of that 10%, I'm going to start quarterbacking some people some money. That way they have something to eat. Right. We also have another pay structure, which is $2,000 a month base, but only 5% commission. So, but that guy is required to be here at 9 a.m. and they leave at 6 p.m. And now that I'm paying for their time, I literally own them. Right. So, they gotta be very, very punctual, clocking in, clocking out. They gotta be making at least 80 phone calls a day. So there's some KPIs that we go for salary people. That way we get the productivity that we need, right? And then the truth is we're trying to get those salary guys at 5% and $2,000 base to 10%, because on 10% they'll make more money. If they acquire, let's say 6 properties in a month, and they're only making 5% and 2,000, as opposed to the 10%, they're leaving money on the table by then, and they're required to get at least 2 to 3 a week. So, you know, they'll see it. They'll be like, man, if I would have done this 10% deal, I would have made more money this month. So eventually they'll transition onto that. We also allow them to do marketing. So it's like, hey, look, man, you want to put your marketing dollars to work, go do it. But you are required to JV with us. That's why we got the wholesaling.
50-50.
See, so they get 60% because the truth is they're putting marketing dollars. We keep 40%. From the 40%, we pay the rest of the team. But it encourages them to continue to pump out deals. So I don't want to put a cap on people. If David comes tomorrow and says, hey, Ricardo, I'm joining the wholesaling cartel. Perfect, man. You're going to make 10% on acquisitions. But by the way, you can do your own marketing. You can do your own stuff. Now my team becomes part of his team. He doesn't have to go build a team.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me jump in here for the legal disclaimer. When it comes to paying and commissions and whether or not they're on salary, you got to know the state that you're in. It's very important. Like California, it's virtually impossible to have a 1099 employee. And if you're going to pay somebody a salary, it's got to be reasonable based on, like, I think the minimum salary here is like $47,000 a year. Otherwise you got to pay them by the hour. So I was doing 1099 forever. Didn't realize I was doing it wrong in California. And that's been a whole issue that I've had to deal with legally because of that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we pay $15 an hour base, and then we do 7.5% for our acquisitions reps at this point in time in the state of California. So know your state. Every state's going to be different. Some states you can do 1099 all day long without an issue. So just very important to interject that there. Listen to what I do, listen to what Ricardo does, what Dave does, Gavin does, and then look at your state and state laws and make sure you're getting proper advice, because you do not want to give all of your profits away in a legal battle down the road.
Yeah,
Just throw that in.
that's really
That's
good.
absolutely right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
gentlemen, I'm gonna jump off. I know this is gonna go for a minute. I got to jump off. I have to do a training. I scheduled myself thinking that we were going to be an hour, and now we're going to be longer. And I wish I could stay longer, but I'm gonna jump off and let you guys have this wonderful conversation. I'll check back in a little later.
Sounds good.
Have fun,
Brother.
brother. Take care, man.
All right, gentlemen.
Thanks, bud.
So all my acquisitions are overseas, and I pay them in Bitcoin.
That's awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Love it.
no, but that's true. You got to check with your local town, your local CPA, and all your regulations. Right, what works in Texas might not necessarily work in Georgia or Missouri or California. So that was a good point by Don, man.
Yeah.
So, hey, Matt Smith asked, how small of a town? And earlier you had mentioned you made about $1 million roughly in these small towns. What's too small?
Man, so
I don't think anything. Oh, yeah, go on.
So let's say you have a town with 5,000 people. That's very small, right? But what is driving the economy on that town? That's what you got to look at.
Right.
Right? Not just the number of people. Number of people means nothing. But if that 5,000 people town is driven by 100,000 people town that is maybe 20 minutes away, or by 8 million people like Houston, that's probably an hour away, then you got to understand what these people in this town do. You have to do some market research. What are the economics like? Are there a lot of properties on the market? Are there flips being done there and rentals, right? So you have to become a professional of this thing, man. This is not just about, oh man, let me go pick a town and let's wish that the town pays out, right? No, go ahead and study the town. Make sure that you know the economics. What are the demographics, right? And I'm not trying to be racist here, but if I find a town where all people are black, I want to make sure there is a black guy talking to them on my team.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I find a town that is all KKK people, I want to make sure that my acquisitions guy's got a white hoodie on it and he's talking to them. Right?
Yeah, just make them as like the people that they're calling on.
Common sense, man. It's common sense.
Yeah, so you've obviously are killing it with that mindset and that philosophy in Miami, because there's a lot of bilingual individuals, or just individuals, bilingual on your team, of course, right? But you may have individuals that don't speak English there, right? Still in America. But you're in Miami, a lot of Cubans, a lot of Mexicans, a lot of Hispanics in general. So that's
we target El Paso a lot, right? El Paso, Texas.
Yeah, a lot of Spanish.
Man, that's all Spanish speakers.
Yeah, I have a few clients.
I tell you this, we got a contract over another company in Indiana. I don't know what the other company name was. I didn't really get into it. But the only reason we got the contract was because we spoke Spanish. We were offering the same amount of money. And we did a couple of things. We were quicker on our feet to go get pictures and things like that. I called my boy Osvaldo Rascon in El Paso, and he went in there, took the pictures, took the contract. I mean, we went far and beyond to get that deal, and we ended up making like 25 grand. But that was because we were able to communicate in their language. So, nothing against the other wholesaler. They were probably doing just as good of a job. Their problem was they couldn't figure out to get somebody in Spanish to go talk to that lady.
Got it. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
That's
really
good
good.
advice. Love that. So Matt says if demand is there, go for it, and that's it. That's basically it, right?
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome.
Man, we wholesale a property in Georgia, actually. Paulding County. This is a little town called Dallas, Georgia. Nothing happens in Dallas, Georgia. But guess what happens? They go to work in Atlanta.
Right.
And flippers are not finding properties with a lot of equity in Atlanta right now because the market is hot. So prices are going up. We get a good deal, 45 minutes. And I don't think even Dallas is that far away. I've never been there, but I would say it's maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes out there. And the guy that bought it, he's a solid buyer. Like, he's done a lot of rehabs. I think his name is Preston or something like that. And he saw it. He's like, man, that's a slam dunk. And he bought it. We made, I think on that deal, we made 18,000 or no, it was a $36,000 assignment, but it was a JV deal that I split with somebody else. And I got the property. The other guy sold it. I love JVing, by the way. Like, if I can move the money,
whole model.
Let's do it, right? And it's the same thing. Like, if you look at the town itself, it might not tell you, it might not give you good indications that there's something happening there. But because the rehabbers and the landlords, they can't find good equity on properties, they're going out their way to go find these properties in those little towns. So, it's something I love preaching. I do it myself. And the deals sometimes don't move as fast. They don't move like in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. But hey, if it takes me 90 days and I can still make my money, so be it. We lock up all of our deals to a minimum of 90 days, by the way.
Yeah. So Matt Smith just said people in Denver, Colorado are moving an hour and a half out to small town Fort Morgan. Town is 7,000 people. I bet there's opportunity there. There's got to be. There's always going to be opportunity.
You just found me my next town in Colorado.
Yeah, that's right. Keep them coming, Matt. That's right. I love.
Hey, Matt, do some more research, brother. I love it. Yeah, go hit it, man. Go hit it. Like, that's really what you're looking for. That's gold right there. It's like, and guess what? I don't know where the hell Fort Morgan is. I don't. It's not on my radar. Right? I know where Denver is, and I stay away from Denver because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
I don't like the expensive markets necessarily when I'm buying data to target it, right? But on a place like that, I may be inclined to go do it.
Love it.
Awesome. We had a question about, are you slow to hire and quick slow to hire and quick to fire?
I'm both. But I'm also quick to hire. So if I see something in somebody that I like, I'm gonna hire that person, okay? But I'll do a full disclosure. I'll say, look, man, if this doesn't work in 2 weeks, I'm gonna have to let you go. Is that okay with you? Yes. Okay. Perfect. Let's get to work.
Let's go. Let's do it. Right.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Look, I'm a equal opportunity type guy, man. Like, everybody deserves a chance. Now, if I see, like, I just had this girl. She has a great attitude. Had a great, she really wanted to do this. Her only impediment was that she didn't speak good English. She only spoke good Spanish. She spoke some English. And I told her, I said, look, your English is not that great, okay? And to me, I think that's a challenge. But she was so adamant about, please give me an opportunity. Let me prove it to you, that I said, let's do it. What did I do 3 months, a month later? I had to say, look, I listened to your calls with the buyers. I'm sorry, I can't have you here talking to them like that. Is you got to get better on your English. And unfortunately for me, I couldn't rearrange her in another position. Like she wouldn't fit a different, her personality type and all that stuff was kind of like good for that. And I had to let her go. And it was unfortunate because she had the desire, she had the willpower, she had the energy, she was consistent, she was on time. She just couldn't speak very well English. So I give a lot of people, man, an opportunity, right, to come make it right. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And it doesn't have to be personal. Like if I'm letting you go, look, this is not personal, man. I think the world of you, but you know, it's not working out for you or me, and it's my marketing dollars that I'm putting in. So I have to look after that, right? So I hire fast, but I fire fast as well.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about the closing coordination. Title companies, closing attorneys, different states are different things. You are doing virtual-esque, but like, you know, let's say you're not anywhere near the Houston market where you live and know like the back of your hand. And it sounds like you also have a team and, you know, a great presence in Miami, right? But earlier you had mentioned that you're doing, you know, marketing right now in, let's say Missouri, right here where I live, and you come across a deal. What are you guys doing in terms of coordinating the closings? Because acquisitions is acquisitions, dispositions is dispositions. A lot of companies will include the closing coordination within the actual sales process of the dispositions. Others will have a whole different position for that. So I'm just curious to hear, you know, what are you guys doing with the closing coordination? And then how are you finding the companies? How are you selecting and finding the companies to actually, you know, do the closings?
Yeah, so I have 3 national title companies I work with right now. I can't say their names because I'm working on a deal with one of them right now that they're kind of like becoming our sponsors and stuff like that. So
nice.
I can't disclose their name, but we have an NDA and that kind of stuff. But we have 3 main title companies that we work with nationwide. They don't serve all the states, but they serve most of the states. Okay,
got it.
But we also work with title companies that are local.
Sure.
So I
prefer personally, if you can.
What's that?
I prefer local personally, if you can get it.
100%.
It seems to be smoother.
Yeah, 100%. No doubts, right?
Yeah, the national ones that are doing it all over, it's usually not only is it smoother, but it takes a little bit more time.
Man, I tell you what, I have 2 of them. They're on point.
Are they? So I've used Spruce in the past because I've sold probably 40 or 50 houses on Roofstock, and that's who Roofstock works with. And, you know, they get it done by all means, but it's definitely, it takes them an extra week or 2 from, you know, compared to the local ones.
Yeah, but the other thing is as well, people need to realize is that because you're doing the volume, Ricardo, they're on point for you.
Right.
Because they need to be.
Definitely.
Little Tommy's first deal, he'll be in the back line and we'll do his.
And that happens to all of us, man. If you show just one title, if you show up with one contract in the local title company, let's say I go to Savannah, Georgia, and Mr. Gavin Timms is the big shot in town, I'm putting on the back of the line, man. You're taking the first position, right? So, you know, it just happens to all of us. But 2 out of the 3 companies are doing a great job. They're communicating fast. They're answering the phone when we call. That's all, man. All I ask from a title company is that they answer. That's it. You know, it's as simple as that.
Communication. Communication.
So in terms of the closing coordination, whose role is that? Is that disposition? Is that an individual in your company?
Yeah, so that's the COO. Shane Rhodes does that. He's handling the transactional coordinating portion of it.
So it's handed off. So acquisitions. So it sounds like marketing, you know, and list selections mostly you, Ricardo.
List selection is good. Yeah.
Yeah. So then that gets handed down to the acquisitions folks, which are basically doing mostly cold texting, probably some other stuff too. When they get, and that's kind of like you had said earlier, that's kind of like the cold close, right? Or the cold sale, essentially. Then once they, you know, validate, vet, screen, however you want to call it, that individual, then it gets sent over to the closing department, right? and they're actually going to be in the closing process. So they're not dealing with the texting so much. They're dealing with the qualified individuals. They close.
No, that time they're on the phone. They're just on the phone, making sure that contract is signed.
And if it doesn't get to that point, you have a whole other person to hit them with the follow-ups and pound them there, right? Love it.
Yes, sir.
But then from there, it goes, once you have it under contract, it goes to the dispositions. At that point in time, does your COO start working closing coordination, or do you
right away
all the way until you have a contract?
Actually, the COO gets the contract and sends it to the title company. So he's COO / transactional coordinating.
Before you do dispositions at all?
No, we don't sell a property unless we have clear title. Like, we don't even advertise.
My question. So that's super smart, especially if you're doing volume. Like, you don't want to be wasting a bunch of time.
No,
if you can't even buy it. So next step would be send it to the title company. So that's the closing coordination right there. See if it's even a deal we can buy. Right. Then if it is, start the disposition. I'm assuming, but simultaneously you're still working with that title company to get to the finish line.
Correct. And once they send me title commitment, like, I can see on Schedule C what's going on. Like, if I see a bunch of stuff in there, I don't even want to mess with that file. I'll tell Shane, I was like, look, man, have them figure out how to clean this thing up. I'm not gonna upload it on our investor list or whatever. It's on the CRM. We put it on a special cases column, and we work on those as we can. But I don't want to put too much energy on those. And the title company will tell me, hey, man, you need this, and that, and we're good. Or, hey, man, this is freaking screwed up. This is not going to be an easy deal. Perfect. That's all I need to know. Right. Let's go to the next one, right? So now let's say I got one yesterday from a friend of mine. He brought me the contract. He said, hey, man, I just put this property on the contract for $86,000. It's a property that's owned on a state, and they're behind on the mortgage for 2 years. And the first thing I said, okay, where is the mortgage statement? Because you put it on the contract for 86 grand, but I don't even know if that's a real number. Like, how much do you actually own on this thing, and to reinstate it and this and that? He gave me some figures, and I said, look, open title. The good thing he did is he got them to sign a mortgage release authorization form. So title company is getting in contact with them, but we know it's a state, so we're going to have to do airships of affidavits, right? So, or affidavits of airships, however you want to call it. So it's not going to be that hard, because the underwriter is going to accept that we do that paperwork in order to close on it. But we've had instances where it's a probate, and the seller, for some reason, says, I'm just going to wait on the judge to approve all the paperwork. And we actually had a deal that closed 2 years later, thanks to that. So she didn't want to do affidavits, and which I don't know why, but the title company was okay with it, but she wasn't, and so a deal that to me doesn't clear title, I'm not going to blast it to anybody, because I don't want to waste my buyer's time.
Yeah,
got it.
Awesome. I've got 1 minute, Dave. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, let's wrap it up. Ricardo, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure talking and learning some of the stuff that you are doing. You are the real deal, my friend. So I'm honored to have you here. I'm grateful for your time, and I learned a ton. I know anybody that's listening and watching and or will listen and watching is going to learn a ton. It sounds like your goal at this point, though, is to take it to like 100 properties a month, right?
Yeah.
That's not rentals, though.
Hey, look, let's do a disclaimer, right? Let's do a disclaimer.
Gavin's always got to come in there. I love it.
If you're getting 100 contracts in a month, you're probably closing 20 to 30 that month out of those 100, right? Yeah. Because people getting this, I'm doing 100 houses a month. Brother, if you're doing 100 houses a month, you got 300 contracts in your hand.
You got exactly. So that's what I was asking earlier.
Well, that's what, when you said 90%, I mean, that's good. Like, but that's not we try and close. No, it's not. No, it's right. So 70, I mean, we try and close, if we, bear in mind, we lock up without seeing it, we try and close 75%. But that's always down to not us. That's down to the seller that's made a bunch of stuff up or title
Yeah.
can't be clear,
Or
or
title
all
can't be
these
clear.
things, right? So
Lots of scenarios, right?
we try and
But
push for
regardless,
75%.
75 or 90. It's
Yes.
not happening in the same month typically. You're talking.
No, they don't happen in the same month.
Yeah,
You're
30,
gonna close
40%
maybe
typically will.
like right now we have 40 something. We're closing on like 10 or 11 this month, right? Maybe more if we can clear more title.
Right.
But you know, there is a sequence to that. So for those of you out there that are listening or watching to this broadcast, if you want to be closing on 2 deals a month, you got to have 6 to 10 contracts on your hands. That will give you 2 solid closings every month. And from there on, you start scaling up, you know. And then sometimes you get 10 clean properties that are easy to sell. Bingo, perfect. It was your lucky month, right? But that's the reality of this business. For those of you that are out there that are preaching that you're closing on 30 deals every month, I'd like to see your bank accounts.
That's right.
Verify that those 30 wires or checks are posting. Okay, I don't care for HUDs because anybody can fabricate a HUD. Yeah, you can fabricate bank accounts too, but it's hard. It's a little harder. But
I love it.
Awesome.
Ricardo,
all right, bud. Well, look, we appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. We're gonna sign off. Join us every week live. Coffee for Closers Wednesday mornings, 11 Central, 12 Eastern, 9 on the East Coast. Figure out what time zone
West
you live
Coast.
in. That's right. West Coast, East Coast, you got it. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming
have
on.
a great day, guys.
We'll see you next
Appreciate
time.
it.